So this is the BRIDLE TRACK, so this is at the Bathurst end of things. It's a track that you could tackle in a two-wheel drive car, but you wouldn't want to do it if it was at all slippery, and it could be a little rough depending on what your two-wheel drive car is. If you've got high ground clearance, you should be fine, but I probably wouldn't tackle it in something like a Commodore. You would get through, but you'd rip the guts out of it if you weren't careful. And if it was all slippery, you'd have a lot of trouble. There were some slippery sections simply because we're in the middle of winter, and there was bits where it was down to still 2 or 3 degrees, and it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And if it had been sort of early morning, it would have been very, very slippery in those sections. We're currently travelling through the historic township of Hill End in New South Wales. It's approximately 275 kilometres northwest of Sydney and lies in between the towns of Mudgee and Bathurst, roughly 75 kilometres from each. Gold was first discovered there in the 1850s, and it very quickly became a gold mining mecca. In 1872, they discovered the world's largest nugget of reef gold, 286 kilograms and 1.5 metres high. It was called the Halterman's Nugget and remains still the largest ever found. Life was pretty tough back then in the 1850s, and in those days there was only a few hundred people living in the area known as Bald Hill, which later, about within 10 years, was gazetted as Hill End. And it covered quite a large area. The town itself, by the 1870s, it had over 8,000 people registered as inhabitants there, and there are anecdotal notations of there being at any one time up to 30,000 people in the area. That would be transient gold workers coming and going. There was, by the time you got to the 1870s, the town had 4 churches. It had a hospital, a public school, had an opium den, a stock exchange, an oyster bar, had 27 pubs, one of which remains today. There was over 200 companies operating in the field and stamper battery areas, and they were pounding rubble 24 hours a day looking for the gold. There were 3 ways that you could approach Hill End, and that remains the same today. You could come from Sofala, and that's now a tarmac road, and about 78 kilometres long. Or you could come from Churundale, which is around 69 kilometres, 70 kilometres long. And then there's the more famous BRIDLE TRACK, which goes down to Bathurst. And what remains of that is still 57 kilometres long. This is the scenic route. This is the one that particularly those with 4-wheel drives want to do. And it can be a pretty tough run, particularly if it's wet or been wet. But the scenery, the views,
They are truly spectacular. If you're starting your trek on the bridle track from Hill End, you're starting at an altitude of nearly 900 metres, and during your journey you're going to run down into the Turon River Valley, and you're going to continue along the track and back up again, and ultimately before you get to Bathurst you'll be coming down again and running along the Macquarie River Valley. As you can see, overtaking on this track could be difficult, and that is one of the reasons why they do not want you on the track with trailers or caravans, because usually or often on the track, when you approach another vehicle coming from the opposite direction, one of you needs to back up and find a spot to allow the other vehicle to pass. 13 designated campsites spread along the length of the bridle track, and there's a fair bit of stuff that you can do apart from just camping. Fishing's pretty popular, especially in the Macquarie River sections of it, and a lot of people go there panning for gold and so on. Just bushwalking around the area, or four-wheel driving around the area, looking at a lot of the old gold diggings and exploring old tunnels and so on is a popular thing to do out there. You do need to remember, though, amenities are very limited. At the designated campsites, most of them do have a toilet block, and any rubbish or anything that you leave behind is a no-no. You must take all your rubbish and belongings with you. Good idea to do your homework before you go. There are several river crossings along the bridle track, and when the rivers are up, they can be quite a treacherous crossing. It's also prone to flash flooding in heavy rains. So like I said, do your homework. Driving along the valley with the river on your right hand side, as you start to climb out of the valley, you start to get an appreciation for what some of the views must have been like for your passenger on the left hand side of the car as you came down towards the river from Hill End. And although you're not as high up as the nearly 900 metres when we left Hill End, it's as you can see, still a pretty severe drop. You wouldn't want to feel it at the other end. This area of the track known as Monaghan's Bluff is the section of the track that encountered a landslide around about 10 years ago, and it took out through the possibility of travelling between Hill End and Bathurst along the track. And the track only reopened a couple of years ago after they rebuilt it in this area. And the landslide caused some of the most dangerous sections of the track to now be deleted out of the track. Back in the day, the miners used to dismount and they would lead their horses or mules by the bridle, hence the name the bridle track. Always check before you head out to come and do this track to make sure that the track is open. It will generally tell you that on National Parks website as well as the local Bathurst Council's website. I hope you enjoyed the footage I put up at the bridle track, and I will catch you some other time.